Where is that? Spumoni, where's my super hat? Hey everybody, Sexy Matt the Pharaoh Wizard here. It's finally here after over a decade's worth of waiting. Incredibles 2. What a long, strange journey it's been. But it's finally here. Yes, Incredibles 2. What I like, what I dislike, let's talk about it. Of course, since this franchise has been going for over 14 years, I should do my hierarchy of all the incredible sequels, prequels, and spin-offs that, of course, this great superhero franchise that's been going for this long came out with. So here's the hierarchy I have so far. Really? 14 years. That's all we got for 14 years? That's it? Cars had 3 freaking movies starring Larry the freaking Cable Guy, and we get one Incredibles movie.
I don't want to live on this planet anymore.
So Incredibles 2 is brought to us once again by Brad Bird, who did the first Incredibles, as well as everyone's favorite Vin Diesel movie, The Iron Giant. So the plot is it takes place right after the events of the first movie, like right after when the Underminer comes out of the ground at the very end of the movie. This picks up right from there. And while the Incredibles are fighting the Underminer, they run into a man who wants to use his company to bring supers back into the limelight and make them legal once again. And they want to use Elastigirl to be their face of their company to bring supers back. Without getting into too many spoilers, that is the plot of Incredibles 2. So let's talk about the characters. So of course we have all the returning Incredibles: Mr. Incredible, Elastigirl, Violet, Dash, Jack, Frozone, E. They're all there. They're all back. And all the original voice actors are back, with the exception of Dash, who was originally voiced by Spencer Fox, but of course in the preceding 14 years grew up and no longer sounds like Dash. So now Dash is voiced by Huck Milner, which I gotta give this kid a lot of credit. Not only is he incredibly young and doing a great job at doing this voice and doing voice acting, but he's also doing a sound-alike. I did not realize that wasn't Dash. I mean, maybe if you hear them back to back, you'd probably hear a slight difference, but really, it's barely noticeable. He did a fantastic job, so a lot of props there. Great job. And of course, we got some new characters, the biggest of which are Evelyn and Winston Dever, played by Catherine Kenner and Bob Odenkirk. So they are the siblings who want to use their company to bring supers back into the limelight. And I enjoyed their characters a lot. So Bob Odenkirk plays this hyper excited kind of fanboy, wants to bring them back for his own nostalgic purposes, and having a lot of fun with that. But he's also a real slick PR guy. So he's kind of like Sal or Saul, but a little bit more kid friendly and a little bit happier. And then Catherine Kenner's character is this kind of recluse inventor. You're not quite sure what's going on with her. But both of them played off each other really well. I liked what they did. It was fantastic. Of course, we got a whole new lineup of supers. I don't want to go through all of them and spoil the movie, but one they tend to focus on a lot was Void, played by Sophia Bush. And I liked her a lot. I like her character design. She's basically has Blink's power from the X-Men, where she can create little portals, and they did some really cool stuff with that. Had a lot of fun with that. She's a really cool character. Hopefully we get to see more of her, but we'll see. So what did Incredibles 2 do well? So of course it's Pixar, so the animation is fantastic, but I have to give them even extra props for this movie. It is beautifully animated. There's action scenes that are quick and have a lot going on and really fast paced and awesome looking. They even had an action scene and like the strobe effect and had this really cool animation. And it doesn't feel that much different from the original. So it's not like this jarring difference you would normally see with a movie with that big a gap between movies. It really feels like the other one, but it doesn't feel stilted. But it also doesn't feel too advanced. They really balanced it really well. They did a fantastic job, and this is just a beautifully animated movie. So props all around to Pixar. Fantastic, guys. Well done. And of course, like the first one, this is an incredibly funny movie. I had a lot of fun with it. The jokes are hilarious, and it balances kid jokes with adult jokes, and the adult jokes aren't just like sex jokes or whatever like you'd see in Shrek. It's more like, more subtle jokes or, exasperated parent jokes. Things like maybe kids wouldn't necessarily get, but aren't like something you'd like, oh, I can't believe they said that in a kid's movie kind of thing. And this is very kid-friendly. So if you're a little worried that, your kid wouldn't like this or it maybe gets too scary or whatever, no, this is very kid-friendly. All the kids in my theater had a lot of fun with it, so very kid-friendly, but it is still very funny. The kids' jokes work, the adults' jokes work. I was laughing a lot of the time. It was very well done that way. And of course, it's Pixar, so they hit on a lot of subtext, very subtle subtext. Things like gender reversal in a marriage, where Mr. Incredible has to stay home and Elastigirl, has to work. A lot of stuff with female empowerment. They talk about toxic nostalgia and, having the wrong connotations with something that happened in your life with, a pop culture item and, having that disconnect. A lot of things like that. So there's a lot of subtext, a lot of things you can dive into and look into, all of which can be explored a lot deeper. I'm not going to go super in depth with that, but there is a lot below the surface with this that you can look into, and I found that incredibly gratifying and well done. So I was slightly apprehensive of this movie for many reasons, one of which being that it's a sequel to a movie that's over 10 years old. And when that's done, it's always really rough, like Dumb and Dumber 2, or that weird Wall Street movie they did later. It's like the magic's gone. It's not all there. I was wrong. They bring you right back into this world. They make it a lot of fun. So that apprehension went right out the window. It was almost worth the wait for 14 years. It was well done. A lot of praise to that. My other apprehension was Jack Jack. I knew he was going to have a bigger role in this movie than the first one. And I was a little worried they're going to do a little bit of the baby Groot thing where look how cute Jack Jack is and oh, he's doing this silly thing. But I think they balanced him really well. He was an incredibly fun character, had some great moments. I don't think he was overused. I had a lot of fun with Jack Jack, so again, that apprehension right out the window. I had a lot of fun with this movie. It's an incredibly, light, fun movie, and I enjoyed it a lot. But no movie is perfect. Where does Incredibles 2 fall short? The first thing is it's very predictable. I won't spoil the plot here, but you kind of know where it's going really quickly, and it doesn't deviate terribly from that. Very paint by numbers. Not a lot of extra exciting things going on in that realm. No surprises, no big, reveals. It's pretty straightforward. The other thing is, as I mentioned in, the previous part is, there's a lot of subtext to this. And although it's there, it's not really explored very well. It's more of just mentioned. So like, the gender reversal in a marriage where the man has to stay home and the woman works. That's a big thing that's happening a lot in society where becoming a stay-at-home dad is more of a common thing. And you see, Mr. Incredible struggle with it and find it hard, but he doesn't learn from it. You don't know if he's become a better husband because of it or a better father. And then what about Elastigirl? Does she, miss her family? She was always a stay-at-home mom, so how's it working now? Is she finding work too hard? They didn't really go into that and explore it enough, I think. It was kind of just mentioned. Again, also with the feminine power, they're leading this charge of supers with Elastigirl. So how's she feeling being in the limelight now, where she might have been relegated in the past, especially with stuff we saw from the first movie? So how's that balance? How's she feel now she's in the limelight? They didn't go into that a lot. They talked about, toxic nostalgia, which is a huge thing going on in the world right now, where it's like, oh, my life is good when this movie came out, so that movie is good, and if you ruin that movie, you ruin my childhood. And they kind of touched on that, but they more just mentioned that it exists. And so I just don't think they just didn't explore enough of those. And so the plot itself was very good and focused and well made. The moral was very unfocused. Like, I don't know what the overall lesson of this was. Like, is it, spend more time with your family? Is it doing the good for the sake of good? What is the moral? And it was very, very unfocused. And that's something Pixar generally doesn't have a problem with. But I felt, the moral was kind of all over the place. And it was, a little weak like that. I think they bit off more than they can chew. It's just too much they were trying to talk about and didn't have time to talk about any of it because they had too much. So just a minor nitpick, but I do have to mention it, is it sort of ended like the first one, where there was an event going on and now we gotta, jump in our suits and go after it. And although not bad, it just made me think like, oh, yeah, we'll see the end of that in 2032 when, Incredibles 3 comes out. So yeah, it just reminded me that it took way too goddamn long for this movie to come out. Which is funny because I don't know if it's at every showing, but my showing almost had like this apology before it, where it had all the voice actors and Brad Bird talking like, well, this movie took a long time and thanks for sticking with us, like this apology for taking too long. It's kind of funny, I thought, at least. But really, that's all the complaints I have, so let's throw up the spoiler sign and jump to this time code here. If you want to skip spoilers, I don't have a lot of spoilers, but let's get into them. So like I mentioned before, it's pretty obvious that Evelyn is the villain. You see it coming from a mile away, although her motivation is slightly different than what I thought it was going to be. It is very straightforward. She was the villain. She was the screen slaver the whole time. Pretty obvious. Didn't really deviate too much from it. Just, it was a thing. I don't know. Wasn't that big. I thought they were going to go the route of like the first movie where they were manufacturing bad guys for Elastigirl to beat, and now we can bring these supers back. It did take a bit of a turn there where her motivation was more that she actually didn't like supers. But, I don't know, it just didn't... It wasn't very surprising. It was very, very bland and kind of straightforward. And the other spoiler I want to talk about is we do get like Jack's powers officially. I thought he was just a shapeshifter after the events of the first one. I thought he just can turn into other things, but no, he's got like every power. He's got laser eyes, he can float, he can teleport, he's got fire powers, he can turn into a demon. Like, he is all over the place. He can multiply. He's got all the powers. But I actually thought that was a lot of fun, and they did some cool stuff with that. I don't know how or if they'll explore that further, if they continue this franchise. It'll be interesting to see what they do with it, if like he becomes older and, relies more on one power and loses other ones or something. I don't know. Because he would be like too powerful and can do too much if he kept those powers and became like a teenager. Because, like, as a baby, he can't control it, so it's kind of funny and had good moments, and he's unreliable as a backup, so that was funny. I don't know where they could go with that, though. It'd be interesting. Really, that's all my spoilers. Don't got a lot of spoilers, so let's just wrap this guy up. So, the first movie pretty much reviewed this movie for me.
That was totally wicked!
Yeah, it was wicked. It was a lot of fun. It was fantastic. It just brought you right back in this world. It was a very interesting idea to make this come right after the events of the first one. We didn't miss a beat. We're just right back in this world. And they just did a fantastic job. It's beautifully animated, has a fantastic plot line, and just this bright, fun superhero movie. I had a lot of fun with it. And yeah, it was great. So of course I got to give it the rating of see it in theaters. If you love the first movie, you're going to love this one. If you love superhero movies, you're going to love this. If you love animation, you're going to love this. Pixar killed it once again. It's a fantastic movie and a lot of fun with it. So did you see Incredibles 2? Let me know what you thought in the comments below. Hit that thumbs up because I found my super hat. And, you know what, subscribe if you could, or if not, you know, that's fine too. And share this video also, you know, if you want. No big deal if you don't want to either. That's cool. But I'm Sexy Matt the Pharaoh Wizard. Until next time, hold on to your hold slots.